All right, guys, this is Chris with Drop Dice. So this is the other video I was talking about earlier. I was kind of checking out my Google Plus. That's usually where I get a lot of gaming information, is by looking at different communities for games that I really like. And one of the games that I really like, which happens to be called Apocalypse World, as you can tell from the name of this video, they're actually going to be launching a second edition of the game, which has got me really excited. So Mrs. Magooey Baker has asked some questions about our opinions about Apocalypse World, and so this is a video in response to that, and hopefully it'll encourage some of you to go out and get Apocalypse World if you haven't already tried it. If you're looking for examples of Apocalypse World, I did do Souls of Steel, which is a Apocalypse World hack on this channel, as well as some of the other YouTubers out there do have some Apocalypse World games that are strictly verbatim from the original rules Apocalypse World, but there are tons of hacks out there, and that's part of the reason I love Apocalypse World, but I'll get right back to that in a minute here. So straightforward for Miss Baker is her questions here. What startled you about Apocalypse World? So for me, the one thing that kind of startled me about Apocalypse World, though I wouldn't necessarily use the term startled, is well, two things. The sex moves, because typically games kind of go past that. They don't typically dwell on that. It's not my particular focus. In games I usually use like emotion or attachment rather than sex moves, just because I'm a little bit conservative as a GM, I guess. I'm not really sure. It's not something I like RPing out with other guys. I'm just not super comfortable with it, and that's just me. So for me, that was a little weird, but I found out that there are ways to play around it, which is where those hacks come in. The other thing that kind of startled me was the way the book was written. It's written in a flavor that matches the setting, which is both a good and sometimes a little bit bad of a thing. Sometimes the way that things were expressed in the book were a little confusing. For example, the moves go aggro and seize by force. I, like many other people online, were a little confused as to which one meant which thing. And it required somebody else kind of telling me, hey, this is what that move means, and this is when you would use this, and this is when you would do something. Because the term go aggro, because as they describe it, it says when you go aggro on someone, roll plus hard, and then it says when you try to seize something by force or secure your hold on something, that's the seize by force move. Originally, the go aggro was kind of a misnomer, and that's mainly because of like massive multiplayers online. When you initially read go aggro, if you have played those before, you think getting in fights and things like that, and it's not necessarily fighting. And so once that was explained to me, it made a lot more sense and it clicked. So I would like a little bit clearer definition, and I would love to see the book stay in theme with the campaign world well, not really campaign world, because there's no official world for Apocalypse World, but with the theming of the game itself, just maybe a little bit clearer language. What is your favorite playbook and why is the next question here. So my favorite playbook, sorry about that. My favorite playbook is actually the Gunlugger. I like playing the big badass motherfucker in games. So it was super awesome to find this guy who was like, I kick in the door and I gun people down. It's also really cool to be a guy who wields guns in apocalypse settings because bullets are rare and things like that. So I really like that one. My second favorite is probably Medic, because I like the concept of being the healer in that type of game, but I hate being the cleric. I think they got like just the right amount of healer without it being I'm a heal bot kind of feel. So I think that was perfect and dead on. Let's see. I think I misnamed it. The Angel playbook is the Medic, but what has Apocalypse World brought to your role-playing? So one of the things that I think Apocalypse World has brought to my role-playing is actually from the GM side of things is the clocks. I'm sure you're going to hear a lot of people say that they really love the clocks. That is one of my favorite things inside the game, and I carry it over to stuff like my Legend of the Five Rings game that's going on right now. Essentially, if you have stuff going on in the world, just draw a little pie chart and then fill it in. And basically how it works is when the thing that is trying to move this clock forward to completion, which is their ultimate goal, they're going to move forward on that little pie chart, and it'll have 4 sections, 6 sections, 8 sections, or however many you want to give it. And when the players do something in objective to that person, you lower the clock. And then when the person who owns the clock does something that helps out, it's going to push the clock forward again. So it's a very easy system to figure out. But I like it because it provides a visual diagram. I don't know if you guys are seeing it. I'm seeing a lot of lag on my end, so my computer's still having a little bit of issue. Let's keep going because I can see my sound is going correctly here. Let's see. Why would I recommend Apocalypse World to someone who is skeptical? So the reason I would recommend Apocalypse World to someone who's skeptical is for what it is. It's a game that focuses on the fiction and puts the rules in a way that they support the fiction, not just can be put to the back because of the fiction. Games like Dungeons & Dragons, they tell you these are the rules, but you can not use the rules if they don't apply to your situation. Apocalypse World is designed so that the fiction will be furthered. My favorite thing is this with that, yes, you can do something, but it's going to complicate things. A lot of people say they don't like it because they feel like it can get overcomplicated, but I think it's really awesome because it helps push forward the story. That's another thing that I've kind of carried over from Apocalypse World to other games is, yes, you will succeed, but there's going to be this cost, and it may not be something you see right away. And I really love that about Apocalypse World, and I'd love to see that come back in Apocalypse World 2nd Edition. That's really the questions that Ms. Magui had for us. If you guys have not played Apocalypse World, please go check it out. It's a fairly reasonable priced game, and one of the things that I would like to see in 2nd Edition is them to continue the same format they used. It is a perfect format for digital content. Instead of having page breaks like a lot of PDFs and game books have, where it's split into 2 columns, which is unfortunately the D&D standard. When you put it on regular multimedia, that is very hard to read in PDF form. But the way that Apocalypse World is written, it's one big straight document. And so when you read it on your tablet, let's say on the go, it is perfect. And I really hope they keep that. The only thing I'd like them to add as far as the document is concerned is bookmarks this time around, because maybe it's just I got an early copy of Apocalypse World, but mine does not include bookmarks, and it makes it a little bothersome to go through there and find things. The search feature works well enough, but I would prefer the bookmarks, to be honest. That is really all I've got as far as constructive stuff goes. Definitely check them out. If you have seen Souls of Steel or haven't seen Souls of Steel, check that out. But if you have seen Souls of Steel and you like the system, it is based on Apocalypse World. Check out Miss Dana Freed. She's got more stuff on Souls of Steel, and if you are interested, I'm sure she'd be willing to let you have access to the beta rules and run your own games as well. And for those of you who are excitingly waiting Apocalypse World 2nd Edition, I'd like to see some more Apocalypse World games kind of come up on the YouTube channels right now. Unfortunately, I've got L5R, which is going to take up the vast majority of my time. So hopefully I can live vicariously through your games. All right, guys, that's all I have. Thank you for watching, and I will see you at the gaming table.